Wham! Talk 1600. You're catching the drift. Conservative talk. Intelligent conversations on local, state, and national issues with Gary Wellings, chief editor of the Current newspaper and Current Online. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your host, Gary Wellings.
And good afternoon. Gary Wellings is not here today. He's out on assignment. This is Pastor Rick Dietering. I'm joined by my good friend, Phil Stargell. Hey, Phil, did you hear in that opening dialogue there, bumping in, that it's intelligent conversation?
Yes.
I think they're overselling it. Yeah. Matt Clark is out of the building. We made sure security had him hogtied and bound and out so we could take over the microphone. And Derek is over there cheering for it. How you doing, Derek?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, I'm trying to. If you could just see him, he's just busting up laughing because, well, you have to just picture Matt Clark being like tied up, bound up, and carried out by Drake. So, hey, we're here. We're having a good time today. Hey, I should tell you this. Valentine's Day is coming up. It comes every February 14th. I think that this is a holiday that was initially started by communists. Or at least men hater. Someone who hated men came up with this whole concept of Valentine's Day. And so Valentine's Day is coming up just February 14th, same time every month, how that goes. And so men have got to go and think of something to do for their wives, otherwise they will not have a peaceful year. And so if you're looking for something to do with your wife, think about Burroughs Roadhouse, which is in Brighton. It's at... look for the address here. Well, it's in Brighton. Here's a phone number, 810-227-6000. And they're having Valentine's Day dinner shows on the 10th and 11th, which is around Valentine's Day. So you can take her a few days early, and it'll be a surprise. And that's a comedy show and a good meal at Burroughs Roadhouse, which is at 5311 Brighton Road. And you can call and set reservations at 810-227-6000. Again, that's Burroughs Roadhouse this Valentine's Day. If you don't take your wife there, you better spend a fortune on a fur coat. Burroughs will be cheaper. So with that done, how are you doing, Phil?
I'm doing terrific, and I'm just enjoying the fresh air and the scenery of a free republic.
First day, America is great again.
Yes.
What a guy takes just a simple oath.
Already great again.
And it's already great again.
Yeah.
So you asked me a question coming into this show on whether we should do something or not. Mm-hmm. And what was that question?
The question is, should
say it with it now. Say it with a straight face.
Okay. Should we give Obama a warm send off and not do anything after today?
No more Obama bashing.
No more. Well, I don't call it bashing. I call it truth telling.
Okay. No more Obama truth telling. And what was my response to your question?
Hell no.
No, of course not. We've been doing it for 8 years.
Yes.
You can't change habits in 8 years.
Yeah.
But you know what will happen? As more and more of Obama is undone, we'll have less and less to talk about.
Yeah.
So eventually, when there's no sign left of Obama, then we'll have to talk about how great this country actually is.
Because I get a monthly reminder of how bad some of the policies was with Obamacare. Mm-hmm. And because when Obama signed the bill to put it into law, my insurance was about $211 per month. It is currently $770-some.
Yeah. Well, you could go and Matt Clark went a long way to talk about the health care and insurance and everything else. He said something that I found very profound, and when you think of it this way, it makes just total sense. When he came up, what is a right?
Yes.
If it costs money, it's not a right.
Yeah.
You have a right to believe. You have a right to pursue happiness. You have a right to defend yourself. These are rights. Mm-hmm. If you have to buy it, it's not a right. Mm-hmm. It's a privilege. And we just have to be honest about that, because here we have the socialists that are just freaking out right now because, well, the nation stopped going in that direction. At least it appears to be stopped going in that direction. Yeah. And they're terrified. And that's a little bit what I want to talk about today. And is the fact that the left wing is frightened, at least those that followed and supported the left wing, the liberals out in the country. They are truly frightened about where the nation is going. They're afraid it's not going to continue on that socialist path that they have set up for the last 8 years. They don't see the country going in a direction that they want it to go into, but they also have a lot of unfair, unfounded fears. And I'll say the other one is, yeah, I hope they're right. This country stopped going into the socialist direction. Mm-hmm. But they have some fears that are not real fears. And a lot of that is I hear this a lot from young black men mostly is what does it mean make America great again? Does that mean make it white again, make it a slave nation again, make it, and they forget something. And you pointed this out to me, and I'll let you make the same point to the listeners on why this is not a true statement.
Yes. They called Trump a racist because of past experiences. But it was not Republicans, and it certainly wasn't Trump, that did the racist stuff. The Republicans were never the racists. Nope. But they assigned that race and that race baiting and that hate to Republicans, and it is as wrong as two left shoes.
If you were to sit here and pick a party that you could tag as racist, I would say you would pick the ones that had the members like George Wallace.
Yeah.
Okay. He was a racist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what about Arkansas? Faubus. Mm-hmm. What about
Byrd?
Byrd, yeah. A sitting member of the Senate. That was a Klansman. And we can go a little bit further back. There was association with the Klans with Harry Truman.
Right. Take a look at what party fought the hardest to actually free the slaves.
There is absolutely no comparison. It was the Republican Party that freed the slaves. And you've got people that actually believe it was the Democrat Party that actually freed the slaves. It is unbelievable. That's why we need to do something with that school system, because they've let us down on.
That's something Trump said in his inauguration, is that we have schools that are flush with cash, mm-hmm. and yet we have students that are not garnering any knowledge.
Yeah, they can't read their diploma. And that's a bad situation, and it happens way more than it should.
You find that the public schools are going more and more and just indoctrinating little socialists rather than teaching them what real math is. Instead of teaching 2 + 2 = 4, they teach you how to be a good socialist anymore in the public schools, mm-hmm. which is why if you're going to find a young person that is conservative, I will bet almost 90% of the time that young conservative will have been homeschooled.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, I have 6 children, and all but one are liberal. And that one is the youngest, and we homeschooled her.
Well, case in point. Now, in all fairness, you love all your kids.
Oh, love them dearly. Yeah,
you got some that are just mistaken on their political identity.
Yeah. And, you can see it. I mean, if you have – well, look, just this week we heard that there were some school districts that were telling their children, their charges, that they should not be watching the inaugural celebration on their own TV. I mean, that's pretty wild. And some of them did, boycott the proceedings.
The last 2 inaugurations before this one, 2008 and 2012, where my wife works at the University of Michigan, every monitor, every screen was blasting the inauguration of President Obama. Mm-hmm. This time around, there were a little group down there watching in the back corner on a small TV, watching the inauguration. Mm-hmm. My wife was trying to get it up on her computer, but for some reason she couldn't get it up on her computer.
Wow.
I'm telling you, it's a conspiracy.
Yes.
She couldn't get it.
Yeah.
But not every TV and not every monitor and everything else was playing the inauguration. And I that's just, I guess, the typical University of Michigan. I think we threw Matt Clark out a little bit too soon because I wanted to get a chance to ask him about when he was going there. I'm sure he could have told me it was the same liberal bastion as it is today. Yeah. But matter of fact, we've had that conversation. He was one of the few conservatives, so to speak, in this great big bastion of liberalism. But my wife couldn't even watch that. So here we are. Now to lead into the conversation, and before we do that, we have Mike who wants to talk about American education. Mm-hmm. So we will open up that avenue of talk, and then we will go into where I wanted to on this show. Hey, Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm on my way to work. Hey, look, I just wanted to say about the education. John Dewey said way back when that his idea of education was he didn't care if little Johnny could read when he got out of school. He just cared that he didn't believe in God. That was a direct quote from him.
Wow. Yep. Yeah, and you know what?
I'm sorry. That's where the system is.
Yes.
I'm 67, so I thank God went to school and we still got to hear real American history. We got to sing real Christmas carols and the Glee Club and patriotic songs and Pledge of Allegiance. Thank God for that era. My children were homeschooled, so they got that anyway. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks a lot, Mike. You know, I'm a little younger than Mike, and yet I remember I went to elementary school. Before my dad moved to Canada, I went to elementary school up in Gaylord, Michigan. At the private school, it was a public school. It wasn't a private school, public school. My sisters and brothers all went to the Catholic school, but I went to the public school. And in kindergarten, I remember our teacher having us say a prayer before school. And we would sing the national anthem and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and we would sing. We would always sing "America the Beautiful" also, but there was always a prayer, and the prayer was always in the name of Jesus. This was in public school. Now, this was at a time where government was still trying to enforce or figure out how to enforce the no prayer in school, because that had just gone through, and. So, yeah, we went from there to a very godless educational system. And, I think if we can get in, now we got DeVos. Hopefully she's going to be in charge of the Federal Board of Education until there is not one.
Yeah, and that I would hope is the goal.
That'd be great if it was a goal.
Yeah.
But what I would like to see first come out of this is this whole thing of the voucher system. Mm-hmm. So if you want to send your kids to a school where, yes, God can be professed, you can take that voucher and get your kids into that school.
Yeah.
If you want to send your kids to a charter school, you can send them to a charter school. You take that voucher. This is the money that would be spent on the education, no matter where Junior went, but give you a choice on where you want Junior to go and learn. And do you want them to go into a liberal camp and learn how to be little liberal socialist, or do you want them to go in and have a classical education, so to speak? So right now we are facing.
Well, you know, one of the things that seem to be so prevalent is the schools right here in Detroit. We've had scandal after scandal. We've had bailout after bailout, and still they want the government to ensure that those schools continue with your kids and giving them declining academic standards. I mean, it's never going up, it seems. It's always getting worse.
Well, remember what Hitler said. He says, I don't need you to agree with me. We've got your children, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what it's turned into, the education system, so we can go in that way. All right, I have been faced with this statement a lot by liberals lately, some members of my own congregation who are liberal in the way they vote, or progressive. I don't want to say liberal. They're progressive in the way they vote. And they talk to me, and they say they are frightened. Mm-hmm. They're afraid. And my question isn't so much directed at them at this point. This question is for the listeners.